won't see me.
After that new episode, we're all left with two major questions, or at least I was. Who on earth is Mrs. Flood? Now, this isn't a new question, but it's one that grows more intriguing by the day, and the other, more new mystery is who on earth, what on earth, why on earth, where on earth is Belinda Chandra? Because she's no normal person. There's a lot of little things that happen in the robot revolution which really imply that Belinda isn't all she seems. Not only is she exactly the same as her distant ancestor, Mundy Flynn.
The genetic link is amazing! Is that just chance, or something more?
But she says, "Is that your TARDIS?" to the Doctor, before ever being told what a TARDIS is.
I saw that box in space. Is that your TARDIS?
And there's other little musical cues that play while certain things are said in the episode that we'll discuss in a moment. The overarching thing that this series is going to follow episode to episode, week by week, is the fact that no matter how hard they try, the Doctor and Belinda just can't get back to Earth. Well, at least can't get back to Earth on time, on May 24th. What's stopping them and why? Why is Mrs. Flood cropping up all over time and space? How are all of these events going to tie together in what I presume will be a big reveal in the Interstellar Song Contest episode? An episode that Russell has said sort of rewrites Doctor Who as we know it and is full of shocks, surprises and twists, more than one may expect. It's worth noting as well that that's the episode before the big two-part finale, so answers are coming in about 5 or 6 weeks. But let's look at everything that Belinda's done so far that raises suspicion. She asks the Doctor, "Is that your TARDIS?" upon seeing the blue box.
Is that your TARDIS?
Now, where's she heard that word? Sure, maybe it's a deleted scene. Maybe the Doctor said it really quickly and we didn't hear at some point, but it's weird that she doesn't just go, "Is that your ship? What is that?" She seems to have a rough knowledge of the TARDIS, maybe a subconscious knowledge, like she's seen it before but she doesn't know where, or maybe her memory's been wiped. It's also worth noting that during the scene where the Doctor says, "Someone said I should find you," I'll play the clip.
I was told about you by someone. It's kind of a long story and I've got to be careful about timelines. But he told me your name, like it would be important.
If you listen carefully, in the background you can hear a remixed version of the iconic Doctor Who track, "This is Gallifrey," which is always played when there's talk of Time Lords, of the last of the Time Lords, of all of this. So why is that underscoring a scene in which Belinda's origins are being discussed, or at least the Doctor's origins of wanting to track down Belinda? The Doctor clearly knows more about her than we do. What's made him suspicious? Because it can't be the Mundy Flynn connection, because he only realises that halfway through the episode when she says, "I've got a shift on Monday." Well, one particularly interesting theory, posed by the Radio Times in fact, suggests that perhaps Belinda is just like Susan Triad of last season. Belinda is an unknowing sort of precursor, harbinger form to the gods, or a god who's going to be cropping up relatively soon. Susan Triad appeared with the same face and same sort of life in hundreds of different places across time and space. Each time it was somewhere the TARDIS had landed that this face formed. What if the same thing is true of Belinda Chandra, but she, like Susan Triad, is unaware of that fact, but across time and space there's hundreds of versions of her wherever the villain of this upcoming season has landed in their TARDIS, or wherever they've gone, a version of Belinda appears. So the Doctor has happened to bump into two of them, and maybe now he's wanting to track down more. She's like a sort of sleeper agent kind of thing. When this god wants to wage war or a reality war, they can snap their fingers and these Belinda things come to life. It would certainly explain why she had so much significance on the planet Miss Belinda Chandra. Like, obviously that was because the certificate was sent back in time, but who found the certificate when it was sent back in time? And all of it ties together. She doesn't think she's important, but in fact, she is important.
You won't see me.
Now, let's take a look at Mrs. Flood, because if we're running with the idea that potentially Belinda is some form of Harbinger, who on earth is Mrs. Flood? Well, I think it's not too impossible that, along a similar line, she is a character or precursor to a god who had known the Doctor previously, or known about TARDISes, known about time travel, but had her memory wiped or erased or suppressed. Because the first time Mrs. Flood begins to act like someone more than just a nosy neighbour is when she sees the TARDIS dematerialise in the church on Ruby Road. If we go right back to her first appearance, that's the first time that suspicions and eyebrows begin to raise at Mrs. Flood. So, is that her remembering something? Like, she drops her shopping bags. Is that her remembering something? Or something being clicked into place in her head, like subconsciously? Like Belinda, she knows what the TARDIS is, but she'd forgotten until she sees it. It's also interesting that she is Belinda's neighbour, as well as Ruby's neighbour. I was wondering, perhaps we've never seen every companion's sets of neighbours on both sides. What if she's been there the whole time? Watching, breaking the fourth wall without us realising. She's just been there, the neighbour of all these companions, because the Doctor didn't even spot her at Belinda's. It's also interesting to wonder, why can she break the fourth wall? Why can Mrs. Flood do it, but seemingly no other characters apart from the gods, like Maestro, or even the Doctor very briefly? Why is it only Mrs. Flood that frequently breaks the fourth wall? What if the ability to break the fourth wall is because whoever can is a being from another universe, a god sort of being from outside of everything we know in this universe? What if that universe in which these gods come from, and this explains why the Doctor could briefly break the fourth wall in the Devil's Cord when he winks at the camera, what if it's because that place that Mrs. Flood comes from is the other side of the boundary seen in The Timeless Child? We don't know where the Doctor's from or who the Doctor is, but we do know that that's going to be explored in this upcoming season thanks to comments made by Ncuti Gatwa on the Doctor Who press tour. You can go and watch one of my prior videos to explain more of that. But if they're delving into the Doctor's backstory, who's to say that perhaps the Doctor's original origin, his home, is where Mrs. Flood is? That's where she came from. And when the salt was sprinkled in Wild Blue Yonder, she could come through into our universe. Which leads me to believe maybe she's like the Doctor's mother, or she's related to the Doctor, maybe even someone like Tecteun. Russell has said in a Radio Times preview of the upcoming season that in the finale the Doctor has to fight the Unholy Trinity. Unholy Trinity, if you think of trios and trinities within Doctor Who lore, you've got the original founding fathers of Gallifrey, Omega, Rassilon and the Other. What if the Other is in fact Mrs. Flood? The Other could even be, and probably is implied to be nowadays, Tecteun, the Doctor's adoptive mother, who is evil but also does kind of have a weird attachment to the Doctor. Maybe there's something there. Tecteun obviously died in the Doctor Who Flux series, but death doesn't mean anything in Doctor Who. You can bring anyone back for any number of reasons. And if we are exploring the Doctor's past, the Doctor's history, and there's this unholy trinity, it would make sense for one or all three of those original Gallifreyan founders to come in. They'd have answers for the Doctor. I also think Mrs. Flood has been set up like so much in interviews and stuff. Russell keeps banging on about, oh, she's such an evil villain, she's so evil, and Anita Dobson herself has said, oh, Mrs. Flood's evil.
She really kind of flies her colours, so you'll know exactly what's going on.
Is she? I wouldn't be surprised if they're deliberately trying to lure us into thinking she's evil, when in fact she's a hero. What if she is the neighbour to all these companions and putting herself there to watch, to look out for the Doctor? She knows that this day of judgment or day of something, day of reckoning is coming, and she in fact is there to save the day when things go wrong? What if she is a future friend of the Doctor, a Time Lord who knows everything went wrong, sends herself back in time, wipes her memories start coming back through when she sees the TARDIS dematerialise on Ruby Road, well, in the church on Ruby Road, on whatever road Ruby lives on. And maybe, if we're going like classic Who logic, she's like the White Guardian or something, and the Black Guardian will be the villain of the season finale. All I'm saying is, I wouldn't be surprised if Mrs. Flood turns around and is actually, sure she might be a bit creepy, bit odd, but she's actually here to help our heroes rather than to hinder them. But I don't know. There's so many questions, so much speculation, and there's many, many weeks to go. Let me know your theories on these two characters in the comments down below. How do you think all of this is going to tie together? Will it work? Will it be important because we think it's important? Or will we get a satisfying conclusion? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, as ever, please do remember to like, comment, subscribe and share. You know the drill. Check me out on Patreon for early access to new videos. My review of The Robot Revolution is out now. Loads of videos, Doctor Who stuff, short films, fan films. Check them all out. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you!
She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.